Broadcasting from Manhattan Beach and the World Wide Web, you're listening to CHSR, HealthyLife.net.
As a service to our listeners, this program is for general information and entertainment purposes only. CHSR, HealthyLife.net does not recommend, endorse, or object to the views, products, or topics expressed or discussed by show hosts or their guests. We suggest you always consult with your own personal, medical, financial, or legal advisor.
Welcome to Relax Radio. I'm your host, Dan Reardon, with our co-host, Dr. Krishna. Dr. K is the founder of the Relax.org, and I am the president. You can download our app from the App Store and the Play Store and visit us at relaxx.org. With us today, we have Patrick Veroneau. Patrick is the founder of the Emory Leadership Group. It's a professional services firm focused on maximizing the performance of organizations and individuals through developing leadership behaviors. And I've gotten to know Patrick, and I love some of his philosophies and the way he attacks helping build leaders inside of organizations and out. So welcome, Patrick. So we're excited to have you on the show, and let's dive right in.
Great.
The thing I wanted to kick off with is, helping people rise above their best. I love that statement and concept, and wanted to get you to explore a little about, how do you dive in and do that with people?
Yeah, that's something that when I first started my business back in 2008 was one of those things as I, was thinking of taglines as most do with businesses. As it related to coaching, I felt like there was so much effort that was put on chasing what other people were doing, and that we were missing an opportunity to really take a look at ourselves and say, how can we better ourselves, rather than looking at what other people are doing and using their yardsticks to measure our growth, is to rise above our best, your best. And when we do that, we can always get better. Whatever I did today, even if today was a bad day, there's something I can do tomorrow to rise above my best, and it was a better way to focus on my own growth.
Yeah, it's a really good concept, and I know a lot of times we fall into that trap that, boy, is it a lot easier to look at what everybody else isn't doing right or wrong than it is to look and say, how do I nail this and be better? So I love the lens of that thought process and statement. In an organization, I've seen it in growing the companies and being a part of the scale I've been a part of, but when that communication and trust is broken down in a big or small team, how do you go about helping them restore it?
Yeah. Well, there are a couple different models that I use. One is tables. That's sort of the flagship model, I would say, that I use in terms of behaviors. But I also do a lot of work with assessments, one with what's called the 5 dysfunctions of a team, and it was work that was done by Pat Lencioni. It's his book, but it's an assessment done through Wiley that I'm a partner with. And what I love about that assessment is it provides an opportunity for the team to rate themselves on the areas of trust, conflict, commitment, accountability, and attention to results of the organization. And based on that, then it allows me to go in, so that's the diagnosis. The team itself will say, this is how we think we're doing as it relates to trust. This is how we do as it relates to conflict. And it really provides a roadmap for me to then come in and start working with this group in terms of what are the areas that need to be addressed to build that level of trust first. And that's, to me, what's most important with organizations is that level of trust first. And, Dan, I've been spending a lot more time recently, I found, in the area of psychological safety. I just did a podcast recently around this idea of psychological safety is not just about snowflakes, which is what I think people think of when they hear that word. And psychological safety from an organizational standpoint is just something that all of us need. If we can't say what we need to say within an organization because either I'm going to be retaliated against or ridiculed or maybe even ignored, we miss an opportunity to be strong as a team.
So, Patrick, I had a question on that, follow-up question. You mentioned in your assessment, the last one was the result. So the communication, trust, and psychological safety, these things affect the results, I suppose. I mean, this was your finding, or this is accurate?
Am I finding for psychological safety as an issue?
No, all these three things together, they affect what the result is going to be, what the outcome is going to be.
With the team, yeah. And, again, I think what I've found, again, is that especially around psychological safety, I've found that to be the most important one right now. That if a team doesn't have that, it's very difficult to go beyond that. I will tell you the most successful teams that I've found are teams that are able to support each other, challenge each other, and celebrate each other. Those three things. When a team can support each other, they can challenge each other, and they celebrate each other, they oftentimes have all the things they need.
When the communication and trust breaks, one of the areas that I found so amazing in my career journey was in a couple of cases I had to come into situations where the culture had been so supremely destroyed or messed up that a culture change, had to be undertaken. And getting the teams, no matter how big or small they were, to really accept the change and to really relish the change was such a process of building that trust with these teams. I made a mistake early on in my career where I thought culture change would be easy. I thought, wow, you come in and just start telling them the new way you're going to go, and away you go. And then you find out, wait a minute, time out. What are your comments on that part of the process?
Yeah, Dan, you wanted to come in with your wand, right? And just, we're just waving there.
Felt like it.
Yeah, I will often tell teams, if you think about it, right, when we're building habits, and it generally takes a long time to build a habit, whether it's positive or negative. So when we look to change a habit, it also takes time. And with that, again, if I talk about this cables model I use, it's based on 6 behaviors. And when I talk about that in terms of building a better culture, it really is about incremental steps, right? Rise above your best comes into play again, right? What behaviors can I start to demonstrate that will build a better culture here? I will tell you, I think from an organizational standpoint, there oftentimes is a suspicion within individuals within your organization because they've seen maybe something else implemented to try and create change, and the organization doesn't stick with it. So people get cynical and they think, oh, here we go again. Flavor of the month. Nothing's really going to change here because in the cables model that I talk about, the first cable in that model is around congruence. It's about walking the talk. And if organizations don't walk the talk, if they don't live by what they say they stand for, then it's very difficult to get people to be open to this really being something that we're going to change culture.
Yeah, yep, very true. On to some thoughts around leadership. I know that you have a lot of thoughts around the many different disciplines that impact somebody's ability to lead. The emotional intelligence, the personality, the habit formation. You have a very long list of themes. Inside of there, what do you think are the ones, top 2, 3, 4 triggers that really impact the most in the ability to lead?
I think humility is important to be able to lead, and the reason for that is that I think to be humble, to be able to admit that maybe I don't have all the answers, to be vulnerable along those lines, it allows people within the organization to have permission to not feel as though they always have to have all the answers. Now, with that said, right, I don't want a leader that every day is coming in and saying, sorry, I made another mistake, or I'm in the weeds again, or whatever that might be. But I at least want to feel that that's in that individual's wheelhouse, that they have that capacity to be able to say, I'm sorry, I was wrong, I don't have the answer. So that's one. The other, I would say, is a superpower, is this idea of being able to listen. Truly being able to listen, I think, is so important. And in our environment today, I think we can talk about listening to understand is the ideal. I have found that when there's a breakdown, it's either people listening just to respond, or worse than that is it's people, they don't listen to understand, they listen to undermine.
Yeah, listening too. Yeah, listening is such a devastating area of failure that I've witnessed a lot in the scaling organizations I've been a part of, and it shows up in so many ways, right? You have weekly one-on-ones, manager to employee, and the manager's on their computer the whole time, not paying attention to what the employee's saying. A lot of frustration builds. You have meetings going on where half the teams in the meetings are busy and distracted by phones and computers and people being late, and the listening is just habitually let go. And the level of frustration that I've watched rise up in the teams and the organizations is pretty stunning.
Yeah, Dan, I think it's even more difficult today in the environment that we're in, where there's much more remote in terms of meetings and things like that. And you hear it now, too, of people having what they call Zoomitis, or they have Zoombies. That was the other one that I heard. It's hard to stay focused, right, when you're not present with somebody, and to listen.
Yeah, it's a great word. Presence is one that I definitely have preached a lot. Is give everybody that gift of your presence and really be focused and listen in with them. Really important point there. I love it. How about we dive in a little bit and give everybody a better understanding of this cables methodology that you've brought up, and mentioned a few components of it, but I'd love to have you talk through and give everybody a better sense of what you do with it.
Yeah, thank you. It really is, to me, the foundation of a lot of the stuff that I work around. I do a lot of work in emotional intelligence and in influence and in personality, but the umbrella to it is around cables, and it's based on these 6 behaviors that I have researched and believe in the work that I do, whether it's personally or professionally. They build better relationships, and really that's all we're looking to do. If I'm a leader, it's about building better relationships, and the image that I will often try and portray is, think of this like a bridge, that we're crossing this bridge on a daily basis with those people that we interact with. And the idea behind cables was just like a bridge similar to the Golden Gate Bridge, right? That is, it looks like one massive cable that runs from tower to tower, and it's actually about 27,000 individual cables that make up that structure and gives it that strength. And it's the same thing with our relationships. The more that we behave in the right ways, we build additional cables, and the relationship becomes stronger with each time we do that. And the reverse is true, right? When we don't behave in the right ways, we take away a cable. So I talk about this acronym of cables, that each one of those letters represents a behavior. So the first one, as we talked about a minute ago, is congruence. It's around walking the talk. The A behavior is around appreciation. That has 2 different components to it. One is appreciation in terms of recognizing people for what they're doing. The other part of appreciation is recognizing people for who they are. And we hear a lot about this today around diversity, right? To me, this is the diversity cable, if you want to look at it that way. The next one is around belongingness. And this one is about how do you create an environment where people feel as though they're included, not just included, but that they belong with the group. It's part of the in-group as opposed to those that are part of the out-group. And then the next cable is L, which is that listening cable that I mentioned in regards to one of the behaviors or one of the traits that I think is really important as a leader. The next cable is around empathy, is demonstrating empathy. Another thing that I think is so vitally important today, especially, is to really be able to try and imagine yourself in somebody else's shoes. what would it be like to, if I was that person? How would I want to be treated? How would I react in this situation? And then the last cables, the last one of those, the cable is around specifics, and that's about clear expectations and accountability. And in a lot of the work that I do, especially when there are challenges, if there's one thing that I have seen is that a lot of the conflict or problems within an organization come from a lack of clear expectations. People don't know what's expected of them. And when we don't know what's expected of them, of ourselves, we oftentimes will run into problems, right? I didn't know that that's what you meant or that's what was expected of me, and then the conflict begins. Well, the other part of that is we can have really clear expectations, but if we don't hold people accountable for those, then again, we're going to run into a lot of problems. And that's where cables, again, it almost starts to bookend itself, because clear expectations leads back to congruence, walking the talk. What do we say our values are? Here they are clearly stated, and are we actually living those values? And that's how that model works. And again, it's whether you're at home or in the community or at work, they all have the ability to create that same strong relationship bridge.
Yeah, as you talk through cables, it's really taken me back to a personal leadership moment where we went from 20 to 60 people, and then we went from 60 to 120 people. And in there, the methods I had been using to lead the company really started to break down. And I had this really hard session of my own realization that I was causing this massive bottleneck in the company by the way I was operating. And I had to retool my entire way I responded to emails, the speed at which I got the teams moving, the whole way I committed back to the organization. And I gave very clear commitments on, hey, if you get me an email by 3 p.m. today, I will have you an answer by 8 a.m. tomorrow at the latest. Instead of they get me an email and they don't know if they're going to get a message back in 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. As the thing was getting bigger and bigger, my time and the way I responded was really bogging down everybody. And people were missing their commits, and the ripple effect was big, and it actually all was starting to point right back at me. And that realization of looking kind of through your whole cables process, I had to rebuild the whole way I operated so that I could help the organization meet its expectations. So really, that was a good flashback for me as I was listening to you.
I love that example, too, about, like, even as simple as an email, right? You in your head might think you know exactly when it's going to be delivered to other people, but if they don't know, what we find is that we're wired that we will always think probably a worse scenario than what's really going on. It's not that, it will be here tomorrow. It's that Dan's not really interested in getting back to us in time.
Yeah, it's exactly what started to creep in to the organization. There was all sorts of, hey, I guess maybe he or the company doesn't really care about this project because they're not getting back to me, or maybe there isn't the budget, or all the instability that was rippling, and it had nothing to do with any of it other than I was overloaded and I was, picking and choosing what I responded to versus being respectful to everybody has deadlines and I need to keep the whole thing moving.
Yeah. Along those lines, so for me, cables it's almost like a troubleshooting guide, too, because it's a roadmap, I think, for how you build strong teams, but it's also a troubleshooting guide for if I've got a problem with somebody on my team or a certain relationship, I will look back to cables and say, which of the cables is coming into play here? What do I own out of this? Am I not setting clear expectations? Could there be a perception that I'm not walking the talk? I'm not being congruent? Have I not been listening well enough? Something I need to own out of that. And the faster I can find that, the more likely we're going to come to a favorable resolution on this thing.
Yeah, that's super valuable too, and it is pretty stunning I know you have a point in something I read either on your website and one of your blog posts where you're talking about, the incredible human talent waste because of bad leaders' behavior. And all of what you and I are just chatting about really goes back to this behavior mechanism where we're causing this huge waste of time and energy and money inside of the organization based on our bad behavior. I think when we come back from the break, I'd like to pick up right there, and then we'll dive into some future talks. We're going to take a short break here at Relax Radio, and we'll be right back with Patrick and some additional insights.
If you want the most compelling, universally available platform in the practicing of meditation, mindfulness, and intermittent silence, then you need to know about the app called Relax.org. That's relax with 2 X's, because when you go to this app, you really do relax. It helps your body, quiets your mind, and connects you to your flame in the world of consciousness. It's always with you, so you can use it any time. Isn't this your time to be peaceful, happy, and prosperous? Find out more at relax.org.
If you're looking for unique items at affordable prices, then you should try Dream Product. From apparel to beauty, from shoes to therapeutic relief products, visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on Dream Products, and maybe your dreams might just come into reality.
Imagine living everyday life on purpose. Now imagine yourself easily navigating through life's changes and stress from a soul level. For insights into the journey of the human soul, let Dr. Krishna Bhatta be your guide. His book, Journey from Life to Life, will help you demystify life, death, and everything in between. It gives you clarity on how you can have a successful life and a smooth transition into the world beyond. Who wouldn't want that? Get Journey from Life to Life by Krishna Bhatta, MD, at Amazon.com.
You have too little time to shop, so try Farm Fresh to You. They deliver organic food the way nature intended, delivered straight to your home or office, economically. Visit our web advertiser page and click on Farm Fresh to You now.
Feel like the super person you are meant to be? It's easy at liveandbreathesolutions.com. They don't just talk about healthy living. Their superfoods are combined with products you use daily, so you're actually getting a healthy living at great prices, too. Imagine chocolate, gluten-free organic snacks, mixes, and ingredients, all but a click away at liveandbreathesolutions.com. So make life simple to be healthier. Just live and breathe and go to liveandbreathesolutions.com.
This is Jack Maher from the band Feed the Kitty. It's important to support the artists you love, and you can do that and get something authentic for yourself. Rock.com has the most coveted licensed merchandise of music, culture, and entertainment. So go to the advertiser page and click on Rock.com now.
Make your day start out right. Coffee and tea are what most people need to help start their day. So it's no secret that you want the very best taste. That's where coffeeandchai.com comes in. They're proud to display a variety of coffee and tea from all over the world. They have a wonderful assortment of coffee flavors, and talk about teas. They have all kinds for the body, mind, and soul, which are great to drink any time of day. Visit coffeeandchai.com now. That's coffee, the letter N, chai.com. coffeeandchai.com.
Welcome back to Relax Radio. This is Dan Reardon, your host, with co-host Dr. K and our guest, Patrick. We're back for some continuing discussion around kind of this leadership bad behavior and the impacts it can have on the waste of human talent and some of the ways it manifests through leaders inside of an organization. And Patrick, I wanted to pick up and have you share a story about a certain situation that you just recently helped an organization work through. I think it's a pretty powerful one.
Yeah, so as I was mentioning while we were on break, is there's one of the tools that I would use in an organization sometimes is a DISC profile. It's a personality profile, and there were different versions of it. And this one for this group I used was DISC for conflict. And what's unique about this is that what it does is it takes these 4 different personality styles and and ask them questions around conflict so that it helps them identify, like, based on my personality, this is what I do well, this is not, this is what I default to when I'm not at my best. And one of the organizations that I was working with, there are 5 people in this core group that I'm working with. And 2 of these individuals, even though they work together, they were friends outside of work up until about a year ago. And then they just, there were some disagreements, and they stopped basically being friends, but they still have to work together. And they're both just happen to be in the same group. So after taking the disc for conflict, I had my debrief with the first person on Tuesday, and the person said, you know what, I read my disc profile. I don't like what I read. And it wasn't saying that she disagreed with it. It was just an eye-opener for her in terms of, as she read this, to say, I don't like this, but I know that I do these things. And we had a conversation about that, and she was specifically talking about this other person that she, had this friendship with that had gone the wrong way. And after that call, she reached out to that person, called them to apologize, to say, I did my disc. I'm in the wrong here. I need to apologize to you for my behavior in what happened to us. And I had the luxury of being able to talk to that other person the next day about what had happened. And she's like, that was the first genuine conversation that they had with each other in a year. And she felt like that was an opening for them to start to repair that relationship personally. And that, to me, is the stuff that I love about what I do, is that we're all human, right? We seek certain things, whether you're a software company or a healthcare provider or a manufacturer, that we want certain things that we can provide.
Yeah. It leads into the next thing I wanted to make sure I had you bring up was I saw you make a reference to the Gary V 5149 rule, which is, approaching and each interaction with this intention of providing 51% of the value of the interaction. And what I love about that mindset when I first heard that was it really, get the eyes off yourself a little bit and really get your eyes on the other people. And what you were just referencing that leads me into that question or this topic was this realization that we are all human, and one of the base things that we all want to be doing is making progress. And when you look at the great human migrations, the pilgrims, all of it is about making progress, people wanting to continue to make progress, have hope, all those basic needs. And that Gary V mindset really helps you do that. So can you share a little bit about how you implement and use that kind of the Gary V tool to help people and organizations see that?
Yeah, so for me, in terms of cables, it comes under that B of belongingness. So another way that I will phrase it is this idea of being for others. Right? To me, that's what that 5149 rule is about, being for others. And, a couple things along those lines is that when we look at research around happiness, one of the things that often comes up is we find that people that are for others, that volunteer, tend to rate themselves as happier than people that are just focused on themselves. Another thing is that, whenever I hear this phrase of somebody that says, oh, this person's self-made, it makes me cringe because there's no such thing as self-made. Unless you birthed yourself and made your own clothes and educated yourself, or you didn't need anybody else, we need other people. Now, successful people, I think, are self-motivated, but none of us are self-made. We need each other. We're pack animals. We need each other to survive and to thrive. And that's really what I try and instill as we're doing this work, of saying that we need each other. If you want to be at your best, then help somebody else to be at their best.
Yeah, really good. The word that jumped to my mind when you were talking about that thought track was the empathy factor, and really having that empathy for others and for what others are trying to accomplish and what others are going through and all the pieces and the ways empathy can emanate. But that was what was kind of popping through to me as you were talking there.
Yeah, and again, Dan, empathy is one of those words that I think from a leadership perspective doesn't get a lot of respect at times, right, because it seems sort of fluffy and it's too soft. It, to me, is one of the strongest things that we can demonstrate to other people is an ability to try and see things from somebody else's perspective and to put ourselves in their shoes. I think as leaders, that's really important to be able to do that.
Yeah. So leading down that train of empathy, how do you help foster an environment of inclusion? Obviously, in today's world, inclusion in all levels and all ways is rising to the top as such an important thing for all of us. But wanted to see what your thoughts were on how to really create that inclusive team, company, environment, system, however you want to term that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm doing some work right now for an organization that is, right, we hear a lot right now about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I find that inclusion by itself is a hollow word. Because if you think about it, right, I can include an entire team, send everybody emails, bring everybody to a meeting, but just because you're included doesn't mean that you feel like you belong. Right? If you show up at the meeting, but nobody asks you any questions or listens when you make a comment, right? You leave that meeting. You didn't feel. You certainly you were included, but you didn't feel like you belonged there. And we miss so much when we don't have that sense of belonging. So again, when I'm working with a group trying to instill that, I go back to this idea that we're pack animals. Think of thousands of years ago when somebody was voted outside of the tribe. It was death sentence. Right? You couldn't survive on your own without the group. The same is true today. It's just that we die different deaths. It's engagement or disengagement or engagement in disruptive ways, but it's just different,
Well, we're going to leave off on this thought of belonging and potentially pick that up as we come back from this next commercial break. We're going to take a short break from Relax Radio, and we'll be back with Patrick and continue this discussion.
Your world is colored with beliefs, values, and illusions, which interpret how you process the signals you receive from others. Now there's a way in which you can quickly learn how to interpret these signals correctly, and without self-sabotaging yourself in the process. In Dan Reardon's book, Signals Proven Methods will help you see things more clearly, so you can act with purpose and achieve your goals, while attaining a more peaceful, happy life. Get your copy of Signals by Dan Reardon today at Amazon.com or wherever fine books are sold.
This is Jack Maher from the band Feed the Kitty. It's important to support the artists you love, and you can do that and get something authentic for yourself. Rock.com has the most coveted licensed merchandise of music, culture, and entertainment. So go to the advertiser page and click on Rock.com now.
If you want the most compelling, universally available platform in the practicing of meditation, mindfulness, and intermittent silence, then you need to know about the app called Relax.org. That's relax with 2 X's, because when you go to this app, you really do relax. It helps your body, quiets your mind, and connects you to your flame in the world of consciousness. It's always with you, so you can use it any time. Isn't this your time to be peaceful, happy, and prosperous? Find out more at relax.org.
Get high-quality glasses, sunglasses, and prescription lenses at eyeglasses.com. Choose from over 250,000 items and 400 brands. Already have frames? Get replacement lenses. It's easy. Go to our advertiser page and click eyeglasses.com.
Imagine living everyday life on purpose. Now imagine yourself easily navigating through life's changes and stress from a soul level. For insights into the journey of the human soul, let Dr. Krishna Bhatta be your guide. His book, Journey from Life to Life, will help you demystify life, death, and everything in between. It gives you clarity on how you can have a successful life and a smooth transition into the world beyond. Who wouldn't want that? Get Journey from Life to Life by Krishna Bhatta, MD, at Amazon.com.
HealthyLife.net, where positive overcomes negative.
Welcome back to Relax Radio. I'm your host, Dan Reardon, with co-host Dr. K. And Dr. K is going to lead some questioning here with Patrick in this segment, so take it away, Dr. K.
Thank you, Dan, and welcome back to Relax Radio. This is Dr. K. And Patrick, we have been talking about what Patrick does for others. And I know from personal interaction with you that you have done a lot for yourself. In this segment, we sometimes use cauliflower moments or something that you believed in and don't believe now, and how long it took to change that belief, or some peaceful moments, minor miracles happened in your life. So let's talk about Patrick. Can you tell us, how did you get interested into leadership? And unless you have empathy inside, or unless you have all those capable qualities inside you, you cannot have it outside. So I know you have always talked about developing from inside. So let's hear more about that.
Well, in regards to leadership, I think back to when I was a kid. I grew up, I'm the youngest of 10 kids, and I think that had certainly something to do with shaping my abilities or my desire to want to be in those environments. I mean, growing up, I can think of sports and, taking leadership roles in there, and then in high school, being president of my senior class. I just enjoyed it. There was always a drive to, I think, to want to contribute, try and help other people, but certainly to excel myself. And Dr. K, I think one of the ways that you and I first got in contact with each other was through your work in regards to intermittent breathing and mindfulness. And to me, that has become such a big component, especially over the last 10 years of my life, of really being important, because how do you recharge yourself, right? Intermittent silence is something that, has been really, I practice it now every morning as part of my ritual, where I write down every morning when I wake up, I write down 3 things that I'm grateful for. And then I sort of journal quickly about, what my intentions are for the day. And then I take those 10 minutes of just quiet time, of nothing. And it allows me, to really be energized for the day. That to me is really important. And I think for leaders, it really is about leading from the inside out, that we have to start first internally. If I'm ever going to be there to be able to lead other people, I need to know myself first. That's how I'm most effective.
It's interesting, Patrick. You are a morning person. Dan is a morning person. Dan takes notes in the morning. You take notes in the morning. So that's an interesting combination of those two people. Dan, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, yeah, it is something that I've noticed for myself in the mornings is, A, I wake up with a lot of information that's been downloaded to me over the nighttime, and B, the silence that is present in the mornings before the world wakes up, before all the emails start flying and the texts start coming and the chatter and the cars and everything. I find that time pretty magical. I can really get quiet myself, and I can really get very focused, and I'm really hyper-productive in that window. So I have learned to just relish that early morning slot for all of those things, but pretty magical time.
Yeah, and I would agree with you, Dan. It's funny when now I've never been a late sleeper. Even growing up, my dad was always up early. He was up by about 5 o'clock, and I think we've talked about this. I get up now around 4, and I started it more earlier on because our kids were younger, and I felt like that was the only time I could get some stuff done before they got up and all of our day got started. Now, as they've gotten older, they sleep in much later now. It provides me it's such a special time for me when I wake up in the morning. And I mentioned to Dr. K when I started doing this intermittent silence, and I'd always done some type of sort of mindfulness in the morning, that to me what I love about that, and I told him, I said, I didn't realize how many different noises there were in my house in the morning. Then when I have those 10 minutes of just quiet time, it's really been very, very powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things, Pat, I have been realizing myself, that I think keep it simple. I mean, intermittent silence is so simple to do. You don't have to kind of, think around 5 different things or 10 different focus on breathing or belly or something. It's just the simplicity itself is helpful there for me as well, and Dan has been practicing too. So it's an interesting combination.
Yeah, it is. I've definitely been practicing more silence, meditation consistently, and even now I'm going to integrate in a humming practice starting tomorrow morning, but just more ways to energize and impact the inner theater of the body and the mind and the soul. It's and the flame. It's really important.
Yeah,
Patrick, we have. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say there was an interesting piece of research that I mentioned to Dr. K, and I haven't got the citation on it yet, but it was from a neuroscientist that said, I want to say he's at UCLA, or maybe he's at Stanford. His name's Andrew Huberman. And he was talking about some work around learning, and what they did was after the learning exercise was done, they required individuals to just be restful for, I think, up to 20 minutes. And they found that when that happened, that the ability for the individual to retain that information or to learn that skill was increased with doing nothing right after you learned whatever that piece that you learned was. And I think that's fascinating, right? It almost gives yourself a chance to sort of process it, that downtime.
That's right. I think, I should get that information from you, because it seems like it creates a flow, and the flow is something that is coming from inside, and of course it depends on the topic you are interested in. And that flow brings all this information that you can jot down or note down or use that as you like. So,
great. Well, we're going to take another short break from Relax Radio, and we'll be back with our final segment with Patrick and Dr. K and wrap this up for today. Thank you.
Explore your inner universe with your own portable guru. You'll discover the benefits of intermittent silence, meditation, and mindfulness, which will help you in every area of your life. At Relax.org, you'll learn to conserve, channel, and use your energy in constructive ways while helping to keep your body healthy and your mind relaxed. Relax.org is your chance to consistently experience stress-free, purposeful living at its best. Where is this portable guru? At Relax.org. That's relax with 2 X's. Feel like the super person you are meant to be? It's easy at liveandbreathesolutions.com. They don't just talk about healthy living. Their superfoods are combined with products you use daily, so you're actually getting a healthy living at great prices, too. Imagine chocolate, gluten-free organic snacks, mixes, and ingredients, all but a click away at liveandbreathesolutions.com. So make life simple to be healthier. Just live and breathe and go to liveandbreathesolutions.com. Your world is colored with beliefs, values, and illusions, which interpret how you process the signals you receive from others. Now there's a way in which you can quickly learn how to interpret these signals correctly and without self-sabotaging yourself in the process. In Dan Reardon's book, Signal's proven methods will help you see things more clearly so you can act with purpose and achieve your goals while attaining a more peaceful, happy life. Get your copy of Signals by Dan Reardon today at Amazon.com or wherever fine books are sold. Imagine living everyday life on purpose. Now imagine yourself easily navigating through life's changes and stress from a soul level. For insights into the journey of the human soul, let Dr. Krishna Bhatta be your guide. His book, Journey from Life to Life, will help you demystify life, death, and everything in between. It gives you clarity on how you can have a successful life and a smooth transition into the world beyond. Who wouldn't want that? Get Journey from Life to Life by Krishna Bhatta, MD, at Amazon.com.
More exhilarating talk. HealthyLife.net.
Welcome back to Relax Radio. I'm your host, Dan Reardon, with co-host Dr. K. And Patrick is here with us for the final segment of today's show. We're going to dive right back in with Dr. K leading the discussion, so take it away.
Thank you, Dan. So, Patrick, we were talking about intermittent silence, and we were also talking about so many other things. One of the things we have is we always feel that we have control until we don't. And that's what gives rise to these magic moments or minor miracles, and also some cauliflower moments that we think we believe in. We change our belief, and for some reason or the other, there is some unseen hand that helps us out. So from that point of view, can you share something in your life that resonates with that?
Yeah, so Dr. K, it's interesting. I had a coach that I was working with for my business probably a little less than a year ago. And one of the exercises that I had to do was to really go back and sort of tell this hero's journey, this story of like what has sort of shaped who I've become or the things that I've done. And it was the first time that I had really thought back to some things in terms of my life. And I know I've talked about leadership and these things. There was a period of my life that I struggled quite a bit as a youngster. I had extremely buck teeth that protruded out, and I was made fun of a lot because of these. And my self-esteem was very low, to the point that I think most would be shocked when they hear this, is that, I was in the third grade going into that summer. And, being the youngest of 10, my parents were very loving and caring, but also when you're the youngest of 10, there's a lot of leeway that you have in terms of not being watched over. And that was the case with me, and I was hanging out with kids in the neighborhood that were older than me, and we were smoking. I was smoking cigarettes in the third grade. And fortunately, it didn't last for all that long, but it was a low point in my life, and I was hanging around these kids that I was part of their group. And from there, it went on to I was drinking in the 8th grade. And it wasn't until I got to high school that all of a sudden I got braces and I sort of grew more and was a good athlete, and things started to turn around. And going into my sophomore year, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. It was the first time anybody in my family had been sick before. And it was one of those things that I just didn't know how to deal with. I almost tried to ignore it, to the point that, my mother was so sick that, she had a hospital bed that was put in our TV room. And that's where she stayed because she couldn't go up and down the stairs anymore. And I remember on St. Patrick's, or the weekend of going into St. Patrick's Day, it was a Saturday morning, and I was going to be going out with my friends. And I remember telling my dad, I'm going out with some friends this morning. They're coming to pick me up. And he said, you can't leave this weekend. Your mother's going to die. I had no concept of that. I was totally oblivious to that, because I just pushed that down so deep. I didn't want to deal with that. And she actually passed away on that Monday morning, which was St. Patrick's Day. Now, going into my senior year, I went on a spring break trip with 3 other friends down to Hilton Head. A friend of ours his parents had a condo down there, and they brought us down there. Well, we were getting ready to go out to a party. We were at a gas station, and I'm filling the car up with gas, and the three others that I'm with are going into the store to buy beer with, fake ideas that we had. And as I'm there's a gentleman that pulls up into a vehicle, a very expensive vehicle next to us. And as he gets out to pump gas in his car, he starts talking to me about this book from Zig Ziglar called See You at the Top. And he starts just saying, that this is a book that I think you'd find valuable. As you're young, this would be an important book. You should read this, and, it helped me to be successful. And that stuck with me. When we got home, I went to the library and I checked that book out. And that was one of those moments for me that, prior to that, I felt like a lot of things just happened to me, right? They just happened to me. I had no control over that. And that was the first point where I truly believed, like, I have the ability to change my outcome. Where I'm going to go is up to me. Now, certainly I've made many mistakes along the way since then, but that has always stuck with me, that moment. That is a hand of God, or certainly I believe that my mother was involved in that she was watching over me and seeing that I was, potentially going down the wrong path. And I think as well she did that because it was something that she knew was coming. And that was, a year later, my dad would pass away to pancreatic cancer, going into my freshman year of college at Fordham University. And I think if it hadn't been for that, I don't know that I would have weathered that storm as well if I hadn't really been introduced to that book by Zig Ziglar called See You at the Top. And I always bring that story up now when I'm doing work, is that I think back to that and think I've never had anybody at a gas station in my life since then start talking to me about a book that I should read while we're pumping gas. There was more to that.
Oh, that's an amazing story. I mean, he was not only filling the gas, but he was talking to you about a book. That sounds strange, but it's true, right? I mean, it happened to you.
That clearly I needed to read. And it really did have a profound impact on me in terms of really a belief for me at that point of, like, I control where I'm going to go. All of these things, right, are part of this, because I was 18 and both of my parents had passed away. The choice was mine to decide what to do next.
Yeah, but, these things just happen to us. We don't see it as miracles, I call them minor miracles with major impacts on our lives. I mean, in simple terms, I met you on a podcast. I met Dan on a podcast, and here we are working together and trying to see how we can help each other and everyone else. I mean, what do you call this? I mean, I call it miracle. I mean, Dan, what do you think?
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about it. And, it's funny, before I met you, I wrote my book called Signals, and it was the whole concept behind it was these signals are constantly coming to us, but so much of the time we just don't tune into them, or we blow them off, or we don't realize that they're a signal, and it has profound ramifications depending on whether you accept that signal coming in. And minor miracle, lots of ways to position this thought process, but I see it so clearly now, and the universe just opens up as you really start tuning in.
Wow, the signal came to Patrick on a gas station.
Yeah. Well, we are at the end of our show today. Yeah, we are at the end of the show. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in today. Patrick, thank you for your time and sharing all this wonderful insight and information with everybody. And what's your website that everybody can reach out to you on?
So the website is emeryleadershipgroup.com, and that's E-M-E-R-Y for Emory.
Okay.
And then the other way is they can listen to me on the podcast, Learning from Leaders.
Okay, great. This show and others can be found on healthylife.net, and you can also find out more about Relax at relaxx.org. Thank you, and tune in next week.
Feel like the super person you are meant to be? It's easy at liveandbreathesolutions.com. They don't just talk about healthy living. Their superfoods are combined with products you use daily, so you're actually getting a healthy living at great prices, too. Imagine chocolate, gluten-free organic snacks, mixes, and ingredients, all but a click away at liveandbreathesolutions.com. So make life simple to be healthier. Just live and breathe and go to liveandbreathesolutions.com.
ASMC, the premier German company that supplies everything for adventure, from outdoor clothes to outdoor gear, even backpacks. Lots of quality and lots of specials. To start your adventure, go to HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on ASMC.
Make your day start out right. Coffee and tea are what most people need to help start their day, so it's no secret that you want the very best taste. That's where coffeeandchai.com comes in. They're proud to display a variety of coffee and tea from all over the world. They have a wonderful assortment of coffee flavors, and talk about teas. They have all kinds for the body, mind, and soul, which are great to drink any time of day. Visit coffeeandchai.com now. That's coffee, the letter N, chai.com. coffeeandchai.com.
Uplifting talk. HealthyLife.net.
Your world is colored with beliefs, values, and illusions, which interpret how you process the signals you receive from others. Now there's a way in which you can quickly learn how to interpret these signals correctly, and without self-sabotaging yourself in the process. In Dan Reardon's book, Signals Proven Methods will help you see things more clearly, so you can act with purpose and achieve your goals, while attaining a more peaceful, happy life. Get your copy of Signals by Dan Reardon today at Amazon.com or wherever fine books are sold. If you want the most compelling, universally available platform in the practicing of meditation, mindfulness, and intermittent silence, then you need to know about the app called Relax.org. That's relax with 2 X's, because when you go to this app, you really do relax. It helps your body, quiets your mind, and connects you to your flame in the world of consciousness. It's always with you, so you can use it any time. Isn't this your time to be peaceful, happy, and prosperous? Find out more at relax.org.